Keith Ellison, who made this comparison to Jews in Nazi Germany. Watch.
I'm one of the people who believes we should give our neighbors sanctuary. And if you ask yourself, what would I do if I was a Gentile in 1941 if my Jewish neighbors were under attack by the Nazis? Would I give them sanctuary? You might be about to find out what you would do. Will you pass that moral test, or will you fail it?
So Ellison is not only comparing immigrants who have broken laws in the United States to Jews facing persecution during the Holocaust, he's seemingly comparing U.S. law enforcement to Nazi brown shirts. Joining me with his reaction is Ben Shapiro, editor-in-chief of the Daily Wire. Ben, good to see you again tonight. Welcome back to the program.
No, thanks.
So what do you think?
Well, I mean, there are about 1 bajillion things wrong with everything that he just said. First of all, Keith Ellison is the last person who should be making Holocaust references, considering that he spent the last 30 years of his life opposing Jews. I mean, he was very close with Nation of Islam founder Louis Farrakhan in the 1990s. He gave a leadoff speech for a guy named Khalid Muhammad, who is so radical that he was thrown out of the Nation of Islam for anti-Semitism. He's tried to back off of that in recent years, but Alan Dershowitz said that if Keith Ellison had been appointed head of the DNC, he would have left the Democratic Party wholesale. Keith Ellison is not the guy to be making this particular reference to begin. If Keith Ellison had been around in 1941, I have my doubts about what he would have done with Jews trying to hide from Nazis. But beyond that, the reference with regard to ICE, that ICE is somehow a Nazi force in enforcing the immigration laws, is just absurd. And the idea that people who are here illegally, who have been living in the country in largely freedom, many of their kids are going to public schools, they're taking advantage of public benefits, they have jobs here. The idea that this is the same thing as making legal citizens of your country illegal and then throwing them into concentration camps or gassing them is just beyond the pale. It's insane language from Ellison, but nothing shocking considering who Ellison is.
I mean, unfortunately, it's become all too convenient in this debate to sort of go directly to the Nazi argument. You know, the idea that, you know, anyone who's conservative is sort of somewhere on that spectrum that is espoused by some people and appears to be used as sort of a tangential argument here by Keith Ellison, really puts us in a place, you know, that goes back to what we were talking about in the last segment, where everything is so fired up, so emotional, that we have little opportunity to actually have a good, solid exchange of ideas that doesn't go to that place.
Yeah, I mean, on the internet, it's called Godwin's Law, the idea that the first person to invoke the Nazis loses the argument. Yeah. And in this particular case, I think this is a pretty good example of it. I mean, Keith Ellison could make a decent argument in favor of DACA. I think he would have to make a stronger argument against President Trump, who apparently wants to re-enshrine DACA with the help of Congress. Yeah. But again, comparing our law enforcement officers at ICE to Nazis is about the most insulting thing that I've heard since, like, the senator from Illinois, Dick Durbin, did the same thing with regard to our soldiers a few years back. So yeah. It seems like certain Democrats from the Midwest sometimes have problems with these sorts of linguistic analogs.
Ben Shapiro, thank you very much, Ben. Always good to see you.